Everybody, and welcome back to another Farming Simulator 22 how-to video. Today we're going to talk about seasonal cycles and what does that mean to Farm Sim 22 as far as gameplay. Now, if you're a seasoned Seasons player, then this video is not necessarily for you. I'm going to have another video that's going to break down the differences between Seasons the mod from Farm Sim 19 and seasonal cycles in Farm Sim 22 later, once I feel that I have a much better grasp on all of the aspects of Farm Sim 22. What this video is about, it's for the new player that is coming to Farm Sim 22. Maybe they played Farm Sim 19, but they didn't use seasons. Or maybe they used seasons very lightly, maybe just the last few weeks or months, trying to get a grasp as to what it might mean for Farm Sim 22's gameplay. This video is also not for the person that's looking on how to turn off seasonal growth, as well as the season's visual changes. I've already done a video on that, and I'll go ahead and put a little tick up in the upper right corner for you to go ahead and reference that particular video. This video is all about explaining the seasonal growth calendar, what you can do when you can do it, as well as how long of a month you can set, and we're going to cover a little bit about clock management. So the core of seasonal cycles is the seasonal growth calendar. And let's take a look and see what the default seasonal growth calendar looks like. So if we go to our escape menu and we come down here to the calendar icon, this is our crop calendar. And our crop calendar is going to govern when we can plant or seed particular crops and when we can harvest those crops. And anytime in between that, our crops are in essence in a growth stage. So in Farm Sim 22, every save game starts in August, which is the equivalent of late summer. And this is different than those that have played seasons before. The reason I like starting in August is that we have 4 crops that are immediately available to harvest on the very first game day of the very first save that we have. And that is we can harvest wheat, canola, oats, potatoes, and sorghum on day 1 of every game save. The next day is September. At that point, we could harvest potatoes still, sorghum, and grapes. We also have grass that we can cut at any point in time when we start our game save. If we move into our third game day, we can now harvest corn, sunflowers, potatoes, sugar beets, sugar cane, cotton. We continue to harvest grapes. Now we can harvest olives, as well as grass and poplar still. So as we progress through autumn and into winter, having this calendar allows us to know when can we plant crops like canola. We can plant canola the very first day we start a game save or in September. But after September, we are done. There's going to be no more canola planting until August the following year. If we try to plant wheat in August, the game is going to tell us you cannot plant this crop at this time. If we look at our crop calendar, we can see we can plant wheat in September and October. After October, the wheat we have in the ground is the wheat we have in the ground. We're not going to be able to put any more in, and we're going to have to wait until July the following year to possibly harvest that particular crop. So having the game start in August allows the new player in the new game save to harvest all of their crops that might be in the field already at the start of the game save and have them in their silos so they can then sell those crops throughout winter at the best time. And it also sets them up for potentially having food for their animals so they can get started with animals sooner than had they started in early spring, like Seasons the Mod did from previous games plays. Now, something else to take into effect is the number of days per month. So the default is 1 day per month, and that's how it starts. So today is August, and when the sun sets on today in game, the sun will rise in September in game. And then as the sun sets again in game, the sun will rise once again, and it will be October at that point. So that was announced at FarmCon, and a fair bit of players were upset about that and were unsure of how well that was going to ultimately play out. So Giants now allows us to set the number of days per month in increments of 1 day per month, from 1 all the way up to 28. Let's take a look at that setting once again in the escape menu. So if we come down here to game settings and we come down here to seasons section, you can see it's set to 4. This was me playing around. So it defaults to 1. And you can increment it all the way up in increments of 1. All the way up 28 days to a month. So that is the equivalent of 4 full 7-day weeks. 4 full 7-day weeks makes up a month. That equates out to 84 days in a given season, or 336 days in a given game year. That type of commitment is not for everybody. That's for sure. But rest assured, there's going to be a setting somewhere in there that is going to work for basically every player. I'm of the mindset that probably a setting somewhere between 1 day per month and 4 days per month is going to be a happy medium for the bulk of the players. And the way that would work out is at 1 day a month, that's the equivalent of 3 days per season. So 3 days for spring, 3 days for spring, summer, 3 days for autumn, and 3 days for winter. 12 days per game year. 2 days per month would basically be the equivalent of everything in one particular game day being the equivalent of 15 real days of progress, approximately. So that would be 6 days per season, or 24 days per month. Obviously, you can get the gist here, what 3 days a month would do. I think probably the longest period that's a happy medium for most players is going to be 4 days per month. That way, every game day is the equivalent of a week. That equates out to 12 days per season and 48 days per game year. Now, something else to note is when you make that change, when does it happen? It happens at the next seasonal change, which for a new save game happens the next day when you progress from August to September, which starts autumn. So it's imperative that you remember to make your change to the number of days per month that you want to have on the first game day. Because if you forget, you're going to be restricted, and it's going to have to wait until winter before that happens. So let's go back here to the game settings menu, days per month. And we're going to set it to 4. So at this point, today, August, will always and forever be 1 day long on every game save. But for me, when the sun sets tonight and I go into the sleep trigger, and then when the sun rises tomorrow, it will be September, but it will be September 1st. And when I play, and then the day passes, and then I sleep, and I wake again, it will be, let's say, September 7th. And then when the next day passes, it'll be September 21st. Okay? And then the next day will be the end of September. So it'll take 4 days to progress through September. And it'll take 4 days to progress through October and November. Now, at any point in time, let's say I decide after 2 days of being in October that 4 days per month is just too long. I'm really just not interested in that duration. I want to shorten it up. I can shorten it, but it's not going to take effect until we move into winter. So be very careful with respect to setting the number of days per month, that you maybe not set it too large too quickly, just because of it's going to take potentially 3 months worth of progress at whatever days per month setting you have before it ends up changing to whatever setting that you want it to change to. Now, this is going to bring me to the last topic that I want to talk about, which is clock management. And I think clock management is a very, very important topic when it comes to seasonal type gameplay, because it does and can contribute to the game progressing much, much slower than possibly you're going to be used to and you're going to be prepared for. So it's something to be thinking about and be aware of. The default clock speed... Dude, he just blew through a stop sign. The default clock speed for Farming Simulator is 5 times. Now what that means is for every real life minute, 5 in-game minutes passes. Now we can change this. We can speed it up, we can slow it down. In fact, we can slow it way down. So our options to slow it down, if we hit 7 on our keyboard, we can go to 3 times speed, 2 times speed, 1 times speed, which means real time. So for every in-game minute, a real minute passes in real life, or vice versa. For every real life minute, a real minute in-game passes. We can slow it as far down as 0.5 speed, which means that for every 2 minutes that pass in-game, 4 minutes has passed in real life. So the clock runs at half speed, in essence. As far as speeding the clock up, we can go to 6x, we can go to 10x, 15, 30, 60, and 120 times speed at the most extreme. So finding a happy medium between the number of days per month and your clock speed is critical, so that you're not left having not enough work to do and too much time that you end up skipping several days constantly, or running out of time with too much to do because maybe you don't own enough land for the size of equipment that you're using, for the number of days per month, days per month, and the clock speed. All of that goes into account for how busy you may be or how not busy you may be. And it can really be a balancing act that you as the player need to get used to and be familiar with. So what I would suggest is starting out at 1 day per month at 5 times speed and see how that progresses for you. If you find yourself not being able to get the work done or having to, buy bigger equipment in order to get the job done and you really don't want to do that, then adjust the number of days per month up a tick and see if that helps. And if that helps, good. If it doesn't help, then maybe you need to slow the clock down. Maybe you need to add more days per month. But it will take a little bit of a balance until you find what's a happy medium for you. But the big takeaway is keep an eye on the seasonal growth calendar, because there's only certain times of the year that you can plant and seed things, and there are certain times of the year that you can harvest those things, and at all other times of the year those particular crops are going to be growing. Also be aware of not setting the number of days per month too long or too short, depending on the amount of equipment you have, the amount of fields you have, and the clock speed setting that you choose to use. So guys, I hope this video has been helpful for you, kind of explaining a little bit about what seasonal growth, the seasonal calendar, and the number of days per month mean. If you liked the video, please go ahead and click that like button. Let me know in the comments if it was helpful or not. Like I said, this video is not intended for the seasons player. I'll have another video out at some point once I get a little bit more familiar with the game as a whole to really understand what is different between seasonal cycles in Farm Sim 22 and the seasons mod from Farm Sim 19. So until next time, happy farming.